So breaking news coming in right this point, the latest from the war zone. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has launched its 89th wave of retaliatory strikes now. It claims firing more than 100 heavy missiles and 200 kamikaze drones. And according to the IRGC statements, the operation, as part of True Promise 4, targeted specific US and Israeli military positions across the region. Iran says the strikes focused on air bases and intelligence hubs, with reports of explosions near Israeli infrastructure in the Negev and US logistical sites in the Persian Gulf. And according to the IRGC, strikes targeted Tel Aviv, Bnei Brak. Images from central Israel, in fact, shown considerable damage. They are showing considerable damage. Israel has meanwhile said that 14 people were injured in the latest Iranian attack. IRGC also saying that a hidden and sheltered gathering point of Americans outside the 5th Fleet base in Bahrain was struck by a swarm of explosive drones and ballistic missiles. In fact, Iran also released a video alongside the announcement. The footage showing multiple missiles being launched and drones taking off in coordinated sequences. It appears intended to demonstrate operational capability and scale. And this also comes at a time when the US and Israel are saying that their repeated targeted strikes have crippled Iranian military. That's what they are saying. Israel and the US, meanwhile, continuing to launch attacks on Iran. These attacks have targeted missile sites, military infrastructure, and also production facilities. Though the retaliatory strikes show Iran continues to retain operational capabilities. In fact, Qatar now also saying that a tanker leased to its state-owned energy company was struck by an Iranian missile in the Gulf country's territorial waters, while the Iranian forces are saying that a tanker belonging to the Israeli entity commercially named Aqua One was precisely targeted. That's not all. The political messaging at this point also remains contradictory. The US president, remember, expected to address the nation in just a few hours from now, and he has said that Iran is seeking a ceasefire. Tehran, meanwhile, rejecting that claim. Iranian officials also saying there are no talks with Washington and no negotiations underway. So what's really happening? President Trump told Reuters hours before he was scheduled to make that primetime address to the nation that the US will be out of Iran pretty quickly and could return for spot hits if needed. The situation remains fluid right now, with both military activity and public statements continuing on parallel tracks. So a lot happening on that front. Let's also tell you about what's happening in Lebanon now, where small lethal drones are slipping past Israeli defenses and striking with precision for the first time since the war started. Compact, low-cost drones are hitting Israeli armor on the front lines. Videos released by Hezbollah showing a direct strike on an Israeli Merkava main battle tank in southern Lebanon. And in another clip, meanwhile, multiple kamikaze drones zeroing in on Israeli armored units in the Lebanese town of Al-Bayada. The video suggests a major shift in Hezbollah's tactics, from sporadic fire to coordinated drone warfare. And these are not ordinary drones, by the way. As per reports, they carry RPG warheads and are controlled via fiber optic cables, making them largely immune to traditional jamming systems. Which means Israel's electronic warfare defenses, designed to disrupt GPS and radio signals, may not be enough. So that's significant. Israeli tanks are reportedly equipped with the Trophy system, a countermeasure meant to intercept incoming threats. But the Hezbollah-fired drones seem to be slipping through, and experts are saying that their range, up to 5 or 6 kilometers, far exceeds that of conventional RPGs, giving its operators a deadly advantage from a safe distance. The human cost of the war is already visible. The Israel Defense Forces saying that 4 soldiers have been killed, 3 others injured in clashes with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Military analysts also saying that Hezbollah could be attempting to create a kill zone, a strategy seen in Ukraine, remember, where advancing forces are basically trapped and systematically targeted using drones and anti-tank weapons. As per Israeli officials, since the 2nd of March, Hezbollah has fired nearly 5,000 missiles, rockets, drones into Israel. And if traditional stockpiles thin out for Hezbollah, analysts expect an even greater reliance on cheap, high-impact kamikaze drones. Amid all of this, Israeli attacks in Beirut continue to intensify. Explosions lit up the night sky over the Lebanese capital as Israeli airstrikes pounded various parts of Beirut. Emergency teams rushed through the rubble, searching for survivors as the strikes intensified. The aftermath revealed widespread destruction, flattened structures, shattered vehicles, streets stained with blood. According to Lebanon's health ministry, at least 7 people were killed, 21 injured in the latest wave of Israeli strikes. And in Beirut's Jnah area, residents walked through the debris and the wreckage, trying to comprehend the scale of the damage.
It is a treacherous attack. We don't know what happened. There are martyrs, 5 martyrs. There was fire. As you can see, it is a civilian area. Look, there are shrapnel everywhere in every centimeter of... We heard 4 missiles, but we can see 3 here.
Since the war started in Lebanon in early March, as per the local health authorities, over 1,300 Lebanese citizens have been killed, over 1 million displaced. Israel saying it has killed a senior Hezbollah commander and another top leader in separate strikes in Beirut. And there is no sign of a pullback as of now. Israeli Defense Minister, in fact, saying that the military plans to hold ground inside Lebanon even after the war ends.
At the end of the operation, the IDF will establish itself in a security zone inside Lebanon on a defensive line against anti-tank missiles and will maintain security control over the entire area up to the Litani.
Lebanon's military now saying it has pulled back from several border towns, repositioning forces to avoid being cut off as Israeli troops push deeper into the south. The United Nations Security Council has convened an emergency session, warning that if the current trajectory continues, southern Lebanon risks slipping into what could effectively become an occupied zone. Will he, won't he? That's the question the world is staring at. All eyes are on Donald Trump as he prepares to address the nation amid the growing uncertainty over the escalating Iran war. Will he declare an end to the war, or will the tensions intensify, especially with NATO allies already at odds with Washington? Is Trump furious with allies who refuse to back the Iran offensive, or is he frustrated by the mounting global pressure and the economic fallout? As the world waits, one speech could redefine America's role in the war and its future in NATO. Take a look.
Ahead of his much-awaited speech, President Donald Trump says US is going to be out of Iran pretty quickly. But he won't give a timeline. Trump also says he is absolutely considering withdrawing US from NATO. The defiance of the NATO nations, especially the UK, France, Spain and Italy, has left the US president furious. Trump expressed growing exasperation with NATO allies for not helping more, even though the alliance collective defense clause applies specifically to North America and Europe.
One thing we're very disappointed, I'll say it publicly, we're very disappointed with NATO because NATO has done absolutely nothing. And I've always said, 25 years ago, I mean, I was somebody that wasn't a politician, but I was always involved in politics and I understood politics. I said 25 years ago that NATO's a paper tiger, but more importantly, that we'll come to their rescue, but they will never come to ours.
Trump's disappointment was also echoed by his Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said US will have to re-examine its ties with the European Security Alliance.
Unfortunately, we are going to have to re-examine whether or not this alliance that has served this country well for a while is still serving that purpose, or is it now become a one-way street where America is simply in a position to defend Europe, but when we need the help of our allies, they're going to deny us basing rights and they're going to deny us overflight?
Iran's strong defiance to US and Israeli attacks have also left Trump frustrated. Sustaining the military campaign has come at a cost. This includes at least 13 US deaths, hundreds of injuries, billions of dollars in damaged or destroyed equipment, and about $1 billion a day in estimated operational expenditures. According to a SIPRI study, US burns $10,300 a second in war. It has burned 850 Tomahawk cruise missiles in 4 weeks at a time when stockpiles are already well below target levels. The war is exacting a steep political toll on Trump. For the first time in his second term, Trump's average approval rating has sunk below 40%. According to Pew Research, more than 60% of Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the conflict. According to a YouGov Economist poll conducted between March 27 and 30th, his approval amongst 2024 Trump voters has fallen from 93% at the start of his term to 76%. Reports suggest that Trump's own team admits they are just as confused as everyone else on Iran. Even if Trump decides to end the war now, the big question remains, will Israel too stop it, and what will Iran do? The world will have to wait, and Trump must be watched at the moment for his decisions. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Meanwhile, Israel is claiming that it will be able to destroy Iran's military production industry in the coming days. However, this is happening while the Israeli Prime Minister is facing the heat from the opposition as missiles and drones are increasingly piercing through Israel's defenses. So Israel's problems compounded as Iran-backed Houthis say that it launched a salvo of ballistic missiles against sensitive targets in southern Israel, in coordination with Iran and Hezbollah. Earlier, 4 IDF soldiers were killed in a clash with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Iran has also attacked several parts of central Israel. And in this backdrop, the leader of opposition accusing Netanyahu of virtual defeat over his failure to win the West Asia war. In fact, he mocked the Israeli Prime Minister's inability to achieve regime change in Iran and urged the people to acknowledge that Netanyahu cannot achieve any strategic goal. Lapid also raked up the IDF's admission that it is short of thousands of soldiers. He also cried foul over the allocation of $255 million to ultra-Orthodox programs and institutions at a time when Haredi men are exempt from conscription. Listen to this.
Netanyahu delivered for the 1,000th time the arrogant speech that says, "I changed the Middle East." There was one word missing from that speech, almost. You almost changed the Middle East. In the end, it always turns out that it hasn't changed.
On the other hand, Netanyahu signaling his intent to continue the war. Even as Tehran's retaliatory attacks continue, he claimed that the Iranian government is weaker than ever before. So far, the IDF has claimed to have conducted 10,000 strikes on 4,000 targets in Iran.
We will continue to crush the terror regime, fortify the security belts around us, and achieve our goals.
The ground reality is stark, though. During a cabinet meeting last week itself, remember, the IDF chief reportedly raised 10 red flags in front of Netanyahu and warned that the IDF will collapse. As per Channel 13, he stated that the IDF will not be ready for its routine missions in the near future, and its reserve system will not last. Israeli military spokesperson, meanwhile, revealing that the IDF is short of 15,000 soldiers, including 7,000 to 8,000 combat soldiers. He said more forces are required in West Bank, Lebanon, Gaza, as well as Syria. The West Asia war is now in its 33rd day. From the skies over Tehran to the waters of the Persian Gulf, from Israeli cities to strategic targets across the region, the battlefield is only expanding, intensifying, growing more complex by the day. In fact, the battlefield is expanding as well. Iran has unleashed what it calls the 89th wave of its operation, a fresh barrage of missiles and drones targeting US positions in Bahrain as well as Kuwait. The war has hit Iran at its home as well. Tehran was rocked by a fresh wave of explosions, loud blasts echoing across the city, thick smoke rising from multiple parts. US and Israeli airstrikes have returned, striking targets in eastern as well as southern Tehran. Several Iranians, meanwhile, gathered on the streets of Iran to mourn the slain Revolutionary Guards commanders, including the slain Navy commander Tangsiri, who reportedly played a significant part in Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, remember, was killed by Israel. The Iranian president and foreign minister also joined the pro-government rallies in Tehran, greeting supporters as crowds gathered and waved Iranian flags.
و این مردم قدرشناس بر سر رئیس جمهور
This is now a war where no capital is out of reach in a way. In Iran's Zanjan, the anger has been building up on the streets. Hundreds of protesters have taken to the streets after strikes damaged a key religious site. Meanwhile, in Iraq, a drone strike igniting a massive fire in the Kurdistan region. Erbil, which is home to a major US consulate and military presence, continues to be a repeated target there. Lebanon also has seen escalation with strikes near Beirut's main airport road after Israel warned it would target Hezbollah facilities. And on the diplomatic front, signals have been rather mixed and the tensions remain high. The US president claiming that Iran has indicated a willingness for a ceasefire, but Washington also has a key condition for that: the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. However, Iran's Revolutionary Guards have rejected Trump's narrative strongly. They say the strait is firmly under their control and will not be reopened under what they call ridiculous displays by the United States. Now, this back and forth also capturing the current diplomatic deadlock, with Trump slated to make that crucial announcement as a part of his address to the nation. The costs of continuing this war are also mounting at the same time. And that also brings us to how the humanitarian toll and the numbers are also staggering. In Iran, over 3,400 people, 3,400 people have been killed. Nearly 25,000 injured. Lebanon has lost more than 1,200 lives. In Israel, dozens have been killed, but thousands injured in repeated strikes. Across Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Syria, Oman, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the casualties continue to rise. Those numbers on your screen. In fact, even the US forces have suffered losses. On to some breaking news coming in right this minute. Big developments. Iran now has denied claims by US President Donald Trump that Tehran has asked for a ceasefire. In fact, Tehran calling the assertion false and baseless is what is emerging right now. According to state television, the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman has said Trump's statements about a ceasefire request are completely untrue. This also comes just hours ahead of Trump's highly anticipated address to the nation, just a few hours from now. And earlier, remember, Donald Trump claimed that Iran has indicated a willingness for a ceasefire, but Washington also has that key condition, like we said, which is the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. However, Iran's Revolutionary Guards now rejecting Trump's narrative strongly. They say the strait is firmly under their control and will not be reopened under what they call ridiculous displays by the United States, like we said.
Right now, it's hard to be possible. The war in the Middle East has caused the biggest
Even if the guns fall silent, say tomorrow, the shock waves of this West Asia war will continue to echo and ripple across the global economy. A lasting gulf of insecurity that will haunt markets, the supply chains, households for months to come. The war in the region is not just a regional conflict after all, it's a systemic economic disruption with global consequences, far-reaching ones. Australia's Prime Minister has already warned that the economic impact will be long-lasting. He is not the only one. From Europe to the Gulf, governments, industries are preparing for a prolonged period of instability.
The months ahead may not be easy. I want to be upfront about that. No government can promise to eliminate the pressures that this war is causing. I can promise we will do everything we can to protect Australia from the worst of it.
At the heart of this crisis lies one critical energy choke point. The near halt in shipments through the Strait of Hormuz has sent shock waves through global energy markets. Oil, natural gas, fertilizer prices have all surged sharply, leading to a rise in the cost of living around the world as well. In fact, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, estimating that inflation across G20 economies could be 1.2 percentage points higher in 2026 because of these disruptions. And that is just the baseline scenario. In a worst-case outcome where energy prices remain elevated for longer, global growth could slow down further, dropping by an additional 0.5 percentage points, while inflation could climb even higher. But then the impact also goes far beyond energy, of course. The Strait of Hormuz is not just an oil route after all, it's a lifeline for global trade. The disruption has choked the flow of critical materials as well, like urea, ammonia, that are essential for fertilizers, driving up the food costs and also deepening the food insecurity in vulnerable nations. The damage on the ground is also quite significant. More than 40 energy assets across the region have been severely damaged. Major producers have declared force majeure. Production has been interrupted. Exports of petrochemicals, raw materials hit hard. Even if shipping resumes, say tomorrow, for example, the backlog, the infrastructure damage, the loss of output will take months, if not longer, to recover. Europe is already bracing for impact. The European Union is considering emergency measures, something that resembles the 2022 energy crisis response, when Russia, remember, had shut out oil and gas supply. These measures include cutting electricity taxes, reducing grid costs, and even urging citizens to drive less, fly less, and work from home. Countries are delaying clean energy transitions, reviving coal and introducing industrial aid schemes. But then perhaps one of the most striking consequences is in a less discussed, critical helium market. The war has severely disrupted global helium supply, with major production hubs impacted, export routes blocked. So this is a serious matter. Helium, after all, is essential for medical imaging, semiconductor manufacturing, advanced technologies, including electric vehicles, aerospace systems. Supply was tight even before this war started, but now the shortage could last years. Demand is expected to double by 2035, but supply chains are now more fragile than ever. What this also points to is a single sobering reality. This war is not just a moment, it is a multi-layered economic shock. Even if peace returns quickly, even as quick as tomorrow, when Trump is expected to make a crucial announcement regarding the West Asia war, if that happens, even if that happens, the aftershocks will still continue to linger. The Gulf may reopen, ships may sail again through the Hormuz, but the sense of vulnerability in energy, in trade, global interdependence will remain. Also on the show for you tonight, a GRAVITAS special on the Everest scandal, alleged scams that could put lives at risk for profit. You don't want to miss this. Could an intense solar storm endanger astronauts on the NASA moon mission? We get you the details. Telling you all about the new trend of finding love through PowerPoint presentations. From the US to Australia, we're telling you how singles seem to be ditching dating apps and letting their friends pitch them with PowerPoint presentations. All this and more coming up. At a time when missiles are flying across the Strait of Hormuz and airstrikes are lighting up the skies across West Asia, a parallel battlefield has emerged far from the front lines. And this one is being fought with memes, mockery, digital firepower. Iran's embassies around the world are now taking on the United States online, not with missiles, but with viral posts, sarcasm, sharp internet humor. From South Africa to Afghanistan to London to Kuala Lumpur, Iranian X handles waging this internet war seem to be winning it right now, at least. One of the most striking posts coming from Iran's embassy in South Africa. A visual that dramatically depicts Iran choking the US in the Persian Gulf, showing a direct reference to the strategic edge over the Strait of Hormuz. Another post taking an even darker, more symbolic twist. A coffin draped in US colors with a hand inside hammering the final nail itself. The message? Self-inflicted damage. A war of its own making, basically. But that's not all. In a sharply critical post on precision strikes, the embassy is sharing a split image. On one side, a US aircraft dropping missiles with labels popping up. Schools, hospitals, houses, universities. On the other, a counter-claim of precision, portraying Iran's strikes as targeted as well as controlled. Iran's embassy in Malaysia, meanwhile, taking aim at US military narratives. A video montage highlighting damaged US aircraft, followed by a list of explanations given by the US posing as sarcasm. It reads, accidental incident, friendly fire, technical malfunction. In another jibe, they even take a dig at the US's Gerald R. Ford, which retreated from the battlefield, remember, and is currently in the Mediterranean waters. The post basically mocking its repairs as a symbol of weakness. And then a cartoon of the White House exploding, captioned, cause friendly fire. Over in the UK, meanwhile, the tone turns darkly humorous. A post showing US fighter jets being grilled on a barbecue with the caption, Iranians love kebab. In Tunisia, the messaging takes a more ideological turn in a way. An image of a military transport plane packed with US troops was paired with a stark message. When translated, it reads, American soldiers are dying for Israel, Iranian soldiers are martyred for the homeland. Death without cause versus dignity in sacrifice. That's what the post says. All this is surfacing on social media as the world is waiting for what lies ahead for the region and beyond, and just hours to go for Trump's address to the nation. But at this point, Iran seems to be winning this internet war.
Historic milestone this week, the NATO GDP.
And as the West Asia war has entered the fifth week now, no end game in sight as of now for US President Donald Trump. And while his address to the nation is highly awaited, it's also clear that he is frustrated over the current state of affairs and in a rush to declare victory. Amid tall claims of military success by the US, Iran launched its 89th wave of strikes against Israel and US positions in West Asia. In fact, the IRGC claimed to have targeted several Israeli cities, an alleged hideout of US forces in Bahrain, and the US base in Kuwait. As Israel, US, and other West Asia countries continue to bear the brunt of Iran's retaliation, Trump has made a huge claim. In a Truth Social post, he said Iran's president reached out to the US for a ceasefire, but Trump also asserted that the US will agree to this only if Tehran meets one condition. He said, and I'm quoting, "We will consider when Hormuz Strait is open, free, and clear. Until then, the US will continue to bomb Iran." Iran's foreign ministry, meanwhile, denied Trump's assertion as false and baseless. Trump earlier hinted that the US will wrap up the war within a couple of weeks. His frustration also coming to the fore as he vowed to destroy key bridges in Iran. Listen to this.
Bridges, got a couple of nice bridges in mind, but if they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them.
Trump's ceasefire claim coming at a crucial juncture when the US is suffering military losses in billions, even as America's troop size in West Asia has now crossed 50,000 with the arrival of commandos, troops from the US Army's elite 82nd Airborne Division and USS Tripoli. Iran has a stronger on-ground presence. As per Iranian state media, the country has close to 800,000 personnel across the army, IRGC, Basij. That's what they claim. This also raises a key question here. Is domestic pressure finally hurting Trump? American consumers, after all, are also feeling the pinch of what's happening. The deep supply chain disruptions caused by the war. For example, gas prices jumped past an average of $4 per gallon for the first time since August 2022. Public opinion against the war is also mounting. As per the latest poll conducted by Reuters, 66% of Americans expressed their desire for a quick end to the war, even if the Trump administration's goals are not met. 66% of them. Even among the Republicans, 40% favor the war ending quickly. Very interesting. Now, if Trump does announce a ceasefire, another question also rises. Can he ensure that Israel will abide by his announcement? While the IDF itself has admitted the shortage of thousands of troops, the Israeli Prime Minister has also signaled that his country will continue to target Iran, with the Houthis and Hezbollah joining forces with Iran to pound Israel. It remains to be seen if Tehran will also adhere to a potential ceasefire announcement. Iran has openly flagged a lack of trust in the US and made it clear that no one can dictate terms to it.
They have tested us many times. We do not accept deadlines. What matters to us is safeguarding the interests and rights of the Iranian people. No one can impose a deadline on us.
With NATO allies refusing to get embroiled in the war, it is quite apparent here that Trump will eventually seek an off-ramp to try and wriggle out of the situation. That's a major possibility. Shifting focus now, India was merely minutes away from a sea strike on Pakistan during last year's Operation Sindoor. The Indian naval chief has said last year's Operation Sindoor, launched on May 7 following the Pahalgam terror attack. The operation targeted terrorist infrastructure, remember, in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The strikes eliminated over 100 terrorists and dismantled key infrastructure. A brief war followed, ending on the 10th of May following a ceasefire. And while addressing the naval investiture ceremony in Mumbai, the Admiral said Indian naval units had maintained swift deployment and readiness throughout Operation Sindoor, adding that Pakistan requested for a halt before strikes were carried out.
We were just minutes away from striking Pakistan from sea when they requested stoppage of kinetic action.
During last year's conflict in May, remember, India had deployed several naval ships, including a carrier battle group led by INS Vikrant, establishing dominance in the northern Arabian Sea and effectively confining the Pakistan Navy to its ports and the Makran coast. And India has not stopped just there. In a major step to boost its maritime strength, the Indian Navy has inducted 4 new vessels, further expanding its operational capabilities across various domains. And among the new ships, INS Donagiri is among the standout additions. This Nilgiri-class stealth frigate is equipped with BrahMos surface-to-surface missile system, instantly transforming it into a high-impact strike warship with supersonic speed and precision targeting of nearly 290 kilometers. BrahMos potentially allows it to hit enemy ships and land targets with devastating effect. Now, this is also important because in modern naval warfare, this crucial capability gives India a decisive edge, like lethal accuracy and powerful deterrence. Named after its predecessor that served for the Indian Navy for 33 years, it has an array of weapons and key features, including medium-range surface-to-air missile complex that can basically neutralize aerial threats like fighter jets, helicopters, missiles, drones, up to a range of 70 kilometers, multi-function search and target acquisition radar, 76 mm super rapid gun mount, and a combination of 30 mm and 12.7 mm close-in weapon systems, along with rockets and torpedoes for anti-submarine warfare as well. The Indian Navy has also inducted a specialized survey vessel equipped with advanced sonar, underwater vehicles, modern data systems. This ship will basically map coastal and deep sea regions, supporting both defense preparedness as well as civilian maritime activities. On the anti-submarine front, the Indian Navy has added Agre and Malwan. Agre, part of Indian Navy's Arnala class series, focusing on detecting and neutralizing underwater threats using modern sonar and lightweight weapons, while Malwan complements this role with a broader operational profile for surveillance, anti-submarine missions, and low-intensity maritime operations, along with mine-related tasks in coastal waters. Together, these four inductions are expected to strengthen India's coastal security and also enhance underwater warfare readiness. What is the biggest danger at the world's highest peak? Mount Everest. Let's now talk about how people, in a way, trust to guide you. The climbing season also starting there in Nepal. Nepalese authorities have reportedly uncovered what they describe as a vast criminal network operating right on Everest. This is not about avalanches. This is about alleged scams that could put lives at risk for profit. Nepalese investigators reportedly saying some guides, doctors, helicopter operators are working together to stage fake medical emergencies. Police reportedly claiming helicopter pilots have billed for rescues that never actually happened, while some doctors allegedly charged for treatments that were never performed. Imagine that. Even more shocking, there are claims that some trekkers were deliberately made to fall sick. According to Nepalese investigators, substances like baking powder reportedly may have been mixed into food or medicines misused to try and trigger symptoms resembling altitude sickness. Everest today is far more accessible than in the days of Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, the first climbers to have reached the Everest summit. There is electricity up to the start of the trek. Satellite phones are widely used. Logistics have improved dramatically. This year alone, nearly 500 climbers are reportedly expected during the main spring window, while thousands more will be trekking to the base camp. But oversight reportedly remains a major challenge. With poor communication, tight weather windows, helicopter evacuations reportedly often approved before the insurers can even verify the claims. Police say this major loophole has now been exploited. Between 2022 and 2025, more than 300 fake rescues were reportedly confirmed, leading to fraud worth nearly $20 million. Nepalese authorities have reportedly filed 33 cases, including charges linked to organized crime. The alleged scam is quite simple: create or exaggerate illness, call a helicopter, admit the tourist to a hospital, and file an inflated insurance claim. In some cases, multiple trekkers were reportedly placed on a single flight, but each billed the full cost. Many trackers at the base camp, already at an altitude higher than most European mountains, do of course experience sickness. But experts say most cases improve with rest and descent. Instead, some were reportedly pressured into unnecessary evacuations. This racket first surfaced in 2018, but Nepal's Central Investigation Bureau saying the problem has only worsened. Now, stricter rules are in place. Every rescue must be officially reported to both the Tourism Department and the Tourist Police. For those heading to Everest, the risks may no longer come only from the mountain, but from a system under growing scrutiny. The sun could derail NASA's biggest return to the moon in over 5 decades. Just hours before liftoff, a powerful solar flare has triggered radio blackouts, and now scientists are watching the skies, worried about what comes next. With astronauts strapped in, the countdown is underway. The threat is no longer just technical, it's cosmic. Take a look.
The wait is over. We are going back to the moon. After more than 50 years, NASA is embarking on an ambitious moon mission. 4 astronauts riding on the most powerful rocket NASA has ever launched. Artemis II crew will carry the astronauts farther from Earth than any human since Apollo 17 in 1972. During the 10-day flyby around the moon, scientists hope to unlock lunar mysteries.
The question I'm most interested in is, are they going to be able to see color on the lunar surface? The very last mission to the moon, the most recent mission to the moon, I should say, Apollo 17, crew members described subtle colors on the lunar surface. We've asked the Artemis II crew to tell us what they see. They may see different parts of the moon than was seen by previous Apollo missions.
The mission, first of its kind in more than 50 years, will see the first person of color, the first woman, and the first non-American embark on a journey to the moon. NASA forecast suggests the weather will be 80% favorable for launch within the 2-hour window. But there is one different threat which could cast an ominous shadow. A powerful solar flare has already erupted this week, unleashing bursts of radiation and high-energy particles that can disrupt communications, damage satellites, and most critically, can put astronauts at risk. And this may just be the beginning. The flare originated from a growing cluster of sunspots, now rotating into direct view of Earth, raising the risk of more eruptions in the coming hours. NASA says there is a 55% chance of further low-level flares in the next 48 hours and a 10% chance of a full-blown X-class flare, the most powerful category capable of triggering long-lasting radiation storms. That's why scientists are closely monitoring the sun, tracking every twist and turn of this unpredictable threat. And here's the real concern. Even if the rocket launches successfully, the danger doesn't end. In space, there is no atmosphere to shield human life. If a solar storm strikes during the mission, the crew will have to take cover inside a specially designated radiation shelter within the Orion capsule, a critical safety drill built into the mission itself. The countdown is underway. For now, all eyes are on the clock and on the sun. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And speaking of that huge moment for human spaceflight, for NASA and for space fans around the world, taking you live to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where you can see Artemis II is all geared up and ready for the launch. In fact, NASA has given the final go-ahead for the launch of the mission following a series of technical reviews and also weather assessments that were conducted. And this mission is officially on track now for a historic liftoff. This is going to be taking place in roughly 6 hours from now. Those latest images coming to you. We're just 6 hours away from that historic mission taking off. the mission rocket, all get up and ready. This is the latest from the Kennedy Space Center. All right, so this is a huge milestone, that historic mission that is going to be setting that crucial benchmark, coming in after 53 years. That rocket is now being loaded with fuel, is the latest that we are getting in at this point. And this, of course, is a milestone that has been highly anticipated after NASA has now given the final go-ahead for this historic lunar journey. The latest minute-by-minute updates coming in from NASA, that historic lunar journey that is going to be taking off. Remember, we just told you about the preparations that have been underway, about how this mission, of course, comes at a crucial point with, of course, not just a huge milestone for the space agency there, but for all those who are going to be watching this unfold minute by minute. It's a historical journey, to say the least. Generations, of course, have been looking at this moment coming up. That's been reported widely about the preparations, about how this is going to be, if successful, a major mission, a major milestone. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week, creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One. Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is One.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. 5 states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal, Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime Crime is your front row seat to darkness.